So, my husband and I had just wrapped up a dream vacation in Florida, beaches, fancy dinners, the works. Everything was perfect until we got to the airport. Our flight was delayed, first by an hour, then another, and then after sitting at the gate for 5 hours, they announced it was canceled due to a mechanical issue. Cue the airport riot. People were yelling at airline staff, demanding compensation, threatening lawsuits. One guy was so enraged that security had to step in before he threw hands at the gate agent. A woman with 3 kids burst into tears. Another guy sat down and started pounding vodka shots from a duty-free bottle like it was water. Meanwhile, my husband and I, we just looked at each other and laughed. I mean, what else can you do? They found the problem before takeoff. Would people rather explode in midair? We decided to roll with it, figuring we'd get another flight, find a cheap hotel, and make the best of it. Big mistake. First, the airline told us the next available flight home was in TWO days. And no, they weren't paying for a hotel. Apparently, they only compensate for weather-related delays, not mechanical ones. Fantastic. So we had to scramble all the affordable hotels near the airport, fully booked. The only available options were outrageously expensive resorts. Not ideal, but we were desperate. We finally found a hotel about 40 minutes away that wasn't ridiculously overpriced. We hopped in an Uber, and within 10 minutes, the driver got rear-ended. Not even joking. We were just sitting there at a red light when, bam, some teenager in a beat-up sedan slammed into us. The Uber driver lost his mind, jumped out, and started screaming at the kid, who looked like he was about to cry. Meanwhile, my husband and I were just sitting in the back seat like, of course this is happening. After an hour of waiting for the cops to show up and sort everything out, we got into a different Uber and finally made it to our hotel. It was sketchy. Like, did we just book a murder scene? Sketchy. The carpets were stained. The walls were paper thin. You could hear full conversations from the next room over. The AC sounded like it was powered by an asthmatic hamster. But fine. Whatever. We were exhausted and just needed a place to crash. Then, at 3 a.m., we were woken up by screaming. At first, I thought someone was being murdered. But nope. It was just a full-on domestic argument happening in the hallway. Some woman was yelling at her boyfriend, throwing actual furniture at him while he just stood there saying, "Babe, please, you're acting crazy." At that point, I was beyond done. I turned to my husband and said, "If we survive this night, we're treating ourselves to a 5-star breakfast." The next morning, running on 2 hours of sleep, we found an airport shuttle and almost missed our flight because TSA was an absolute nightmare. But somehow, by some miracle, we made it home. We collapsed onto our bed and just died for the next 10 hours. Now, looking back, we laugh about it. But in the moment, it felt like the universe was personally testing us. Never again. Next time we're driving.
I will be very grateful if you subscribe to our channel.
I grew up in the city where everything moves fast, people mind their own business, and no one cares if you've lived in the same apartment for 10 years but never met your next door neighbor. That's just how it is. Life is loud, chaotic, and impersonal, but that was my normal. Then, life took an unexpected turn, and I found myself in a small rural town. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where newcomers stick out like a sore thumb, and where change is something people actively resist. I came here for a job and opportunity I couldn't pass up. But what I didn't realize was that moving to a small town meant walking into an entirely different culture, one that had no intention of making space for outsiders. At first, I thought the comments were harmless. My coworkers, most of whom had lived here their entire lives, would throw little jabs like, "Bet you don't even know how to change a tire, city girl," or "Must be nice to sit in an office all day while we do real work. It was always said with a smirk, like they were testing me. I ignored it. I wasn't trying to prove anything, but it didn't stop. No matter what I did, I was always the city girl. If I wore nice clothes, she's too fancy for this place. If I grabbed lunch instead of packing it, city folk don't know how to cook. If I didn't join in on the local gossip, bet she thinks she's better than us. It wasn't just the comments. People would conveniently forget to tell me about after-work gatherings, or they'd leave me out of conversations. I'd walk into a room and suddenly the mood would shift. It was subtle, but it was there. Then things escalated. One day, my coworker's truck broke down outside the office. I happened to have jumper cables in my car, and I offered to help. The look on his face, like I had just spoken in a foreign language, was almost comical. He actually said, "Wait, you know how to do that?" As if I was some kind of helpless child. I shrugged and said, "Yeah, my dad taught me when I was 16. Instead of appreciation, I got skepticism. Didn't think city folk knew anything about cars. I let that one slide too. But the real turning point came a few weeks later during the town's annual fall festival. I had finally started warming up to a few people, and I thought maybe, just maybe, I was making progress. Then, during one of the festival's competitions, a good old-fashioned lumberjack-style log-cutting contest, someone thought it'd be hilarious to sign me up. I laughed it off at first, assuming it was just a joke, but when I saw the smirks and the not-so-quiet whispers, I realized exactly what this was. They wanted to see me fail. They wanted to watch the city girl make a fool of herself. Well, joke's on them. I grew up with an uncle who ran a wood shop, and I knew how to handle a damn saw. When it was my turn, I didn't hesitate. I rolled up my sleeves, picked up the saw, and went to work. I won't say it was easy. I was up against people who'd been doing this their whole lives, but I held my own. I didn't embarrass myself. In fact, I did better than half the guys who entered. The silence after I finished was the best part. No more smirks, no more snide comments, just stunned expressions, and one begrudging, "Huh, not bad." That night, for the first time since moving here, I felt something shift. A few coworkers even bought me a drink at the local bar. Not exactly a grand welcome, but it was a start. I'm still not fully accepted here. I probably never will be, but I've learned something important. Small towns might be set in their ways, but respect isn't given, it's earned. And sometimes the only way to earn it is to pick up a damn saw and show them what you're made of.